I couldn't have a segment called End Floats Antiquities without talking about my stereo. I've a bit of an assortment of different components here, mainly Toshiba actually, although for a while it was mainly Trio. You can see here I have Toshiba SC330 power amp, SY330 preamp, and the ST330 tuner. The tape deck is a Trio KX505, and the turntable is a Toshiba SRF335. The reason I went for the 335 turntable is because it's direct drive, as well as being full automatic. The 330 is belt drive. The speakers I have are Trio LS770A speakers. There are LS770s as well too, which are not without DA. And they do look completely different. But these would have been made, I think, in around 1991. The main components of the hi-fi would be 1977. And the tape deck would be in around that as well. There's a CD player down the very bottom there too, but I'm not even going to bother showing it. It's not particularly exciting, and I never use it anyway. Plugged into the back of this hi-fi is also a Logitech Bluetooth receiver. So if I'm not listening to vinyls, I would use the Bluetooth a lot. So let's turn it on anyway. I spent a bit of time when I bought this power amp and preamp changing all the capacitors in it, in the power amp anyway, and I changed all the lamps that needed replacing. I also cleaned all the pots, and there were 2 transistors that needed replacing in the power amp as well. The end result is it sounds absolutely fantastic. It's got a really nice old school sound to it. And even though it's 38 watts per channel into 8 ohms, it will rattle the windows out of the house. I mean, through the 3-way speakers there's more than enough power for any house. I'll stick this on anyway. This is the Stranger Things soundtrack. So, some pretty good tunes on it. Full automatic. I love it. The turntable, basically what you can do is you can select the size of the record, so that'd be 30 centimeters, 25 or 17 centimeters. So 30 centimeters being 12 inches basically. So that'll be your normal LP, and the 17 centimeters being 7 inches, that'll be your single. The 25 would be the intermediate size, would be an EP. You have the number of times it'll repeat as well too, so you can set that to say it'll repeat up to 6 times. And then that's obviously your tone arm elevation as well too. Over here you have the speed control, and you can trim the speed, and there is a strobe on this as well too. It's a really nice piece of gear actually, and the only problem with it I have is that there's a little bit of damage to the cover, but you know, I mean, it'll be one of those things. I'll try and get something done about it at some stage, but for the moment it's absolutely fine. We just, you know, and I'm not using it. There's a couple of picture frames on it anyway, so you don't really see it. So yeah, so that's basically it. I did spend a lot of time on the Trio KR7200 receiver unit that I had before I bought the Toshiba stuff, and I'd replaced all the capacitors in that and changed a couple of pots, but to be honest with you, it had high mileage on it anyway, so I think it was you know, no matter what I did with it, it always seemed to give problems elsewhere. So I sold it on to a friend anyway. He got it for a steal, and it is a lovely piece of gear. But if I got one that was in better condition from the get-go, probably would have been more worth hanging on to. Whereas I'm really happy with that Toshiba stuff. I used to have that same setup many years ago, and unfortunately for some silly reason sold it. But now I have it back, and I absolutely love it, and I'll definitely be keeping this system. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.